Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. Thank you again for joining me. Today I have something super exciting. I've been waiting for this to come out because lately I've been super obsessed with powders. So I saw the Maybelline Superstay powder that was coming out and I immediately went looking for it in the stores. Now when you order it on Amazon, you can pretty much get it between $7.99. Depending on what store, you could get $9.99. I actually saw it at my Walgreens down the street for $12.99. I picked it up anyway because I needed to get it. So this is one of my favorite drugstore foundations. I love this foundation, so I'm so excited to use both of them together. And as you know, I don't do first impressions, so I've already kind of been playing with it. So I'm going to read you a little bit about this foundation. So this is a powder foundation. It is a 16-hour wear, transfer resistant, fade resistant. It is a full coverage and it does come in 11 shades. And again, you could get it between $7.99 to $9.99 to $12.99 like what I paid. Now, to be quite honest, I'm not really like a powder foundation kind of girl. When I see like these loose powders and stuff like that, I'm not a fan of them because I feel like, especially if you have oily skin, it kind of starts to fade, you get streaky and stuff like that. But I was really curious about this one because lately I've been loving like these drugstore powders. So this one to me, usually when, I know this sounds weird, but since I've played with so many makeup and stuff like that, like we all do, I kind of, when I look at it, I kind of could see if I'm going to love the product or not. And usually I'm quite on. Like if I say I'm not going to like it, I don't. It's really weird. I don't know if you guys do that, but that's what happens with me. So anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the powder on one side of my face. And on the other side, I'm going to use the foundation and the powder together just so that you can see the difference. Now I'm going to go ahead and moisturize my face with my LMS moisturizer. It's just a really nice light moisturizer. It does smell like the Huda. I'm sorry if I sound a little hoarse. I've been sick forever and I feel like I'm just getting worse. Now I'm going to go ahead. I have a hair on my lip. I'm going to go ahead with my, it's still there, with my Touch Up Primer. And by the way, they do this, they do this. They do have this in a little baby form, which is $20. So if you don't want to spend the $50-something on it, it is available in a little baby size. So I'm very excited about that too. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get a little bit of my concealer. It is like way lighter than my liking. I saw somebody using it and they said the color, so I went ahead and grabbed it without looking, which is something I normally don't do, but I did. And it is like ridiculously light. So I'm just going to put a little bit, but it's the Jouer concealer and it's absolutely beautiful. I actually ordered the correct color, which would be Toast for me. Where's my little brush thingy here? And I'm like obsessed with it. It is like full coverage and it's just a delicious concealer. So I'm just going to put a little bit on. So this is kind of a trick. If you have like a lighter concealer, if you make the mistake like I did, and you don't want to go return it, you just order another one like I did. I'm just going to put a little bit underneath. Usually I like to apply my concealer before I do my foundation because I like to see the brightness underneath immediately. And I feel like when you do this first, then it kind of like, you know, dulls down the color and then it's not as bright, and I don't like to keep adding a bunch of stuff underneath. So this is just a little trick that I do if you have way lighter concealer. I'm probably yakking too much, but I'm just going to put a little bit like you saw, and then I'm just going to blend that out, drag it down, go in your inner corners of your eye. So you can see it's bright. It's a little bit too pale. So I'm going to go ahead and go in with this. If I could open it, and I'm going to get a little Luxie brush and I'm just going to buff it. Now, I did notice about this that as soon as I started buffing this into my skin became kind of blurry, and it was like this beautiful powder that's not too heavy, and it's just a comfortable powder. Sorry. And then I'm just going to go underneath and just apply a little bit. Not too much. I got like man hairs. I gotta take care of that soon. You know what? And I also find like I have a pimple right here, one of those ingrown pimples. Look at this. it hit it. Unlike that foundation I used last night from Stila, that didn't do nothing. Okay, so this is what the difference is. All right. Now I'm going to go ahead and use the foundation, and then I'm going to go ahead and put the other one, the powder on top of it. So I'm going to use my Jaclyn Hill brush. I'm just going to buff that in. Such a beautiful, beautiful foundation. And I'm going to just write down the color down below because I was looking for the color with my glasses on and I couldn't see it. Sorry. I just don't want to miss doing videos. Okay, so that's the difference between the powder and the foundation. Of course, I have a little bit better, coverage with the foundation. Now I'm going to apply the powder over it. I'm just going to buff that in again. Now, obviously, it's going to be a fuller coverage. So here's the difference. Now I'm going to put a little bit of my e.l.f. Hydrating Coconut Mist just to kind of melt everything down. It smells so good. All right. Now I'm going to give you my final thoughts on this. When I wore these two together, it did control my oil. I didn't find to get super oily or anything like that. It did kind of peek throughout the day. But then instead of making me look really nice and powdery, I became just a little bit of dewiness. So it did control my oiliness when I used both of them. When I used the powder by itself, it did, when I sprayed it, it did kind of melt into my skin. It looked really nice and natural. It didn't look heavy. And like I said, I don't like that powdery feeling. I didn't feel like it was powdery. It was just really nice and comfortable. Once my oil started kind of peeking through the foundation, it just controlled it nicely. I didn't feel like it faded too much on me because I did put a good amount. Usually I'm light-handed when I apply foundations and powders. And as you could see, I really went to town with it because I wanted to make sure it was like a full coverage powder, and it was. So I really like it. I think it's absolutely beautiful. Everybody, of course, I always say that's going to have a whole different experience with it, but I think it's beautiful. I mean, if you want to walk out the door and you don't want to be fussing with foundations and stuff like that, I think it's a nice alternative just to get a brush, put it on a little bit of concealer, and then you're out the door. But if you want to go ahead and do like the whole full thing and then add both of them, have a really nice full coverage. The dual is absolutely amazing. I think it's beautiful. I really like it. I didn't have any issues with it. I've actually been applying it on some of the girls that I've been working with, and they love it. It just looks pretty. It's a nice powder. When I put it underneath my eyes, I didn't feel like it got creasy or cakey or anything like that. But of course, I make sure to mist my face when I just use a powder by itself. So that's pretty much it. I really do like it. Anyway, that's my quick review with this little powder. I hope you enjoyed it. Please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe, and I'll see you again for my next video. Bye. Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. Thank you again for joining me. I have boogers everywhere and I don't have a tissue.